You're listening to the Broken Havoc podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the frickin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. What's up, everybody? It is Broken Havoc here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here to review Monday Night Raw from January 10th, 2021, coming to us from the land of extreme, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And what are my overall thoughts on this particular show? Let's be straight up. We can all agree that Monday Night Raw is arguably the worst show in wrestling right now. I'm just saying, this show was just pure boredom, and I just did not care at all of most of the angles that they did on this show. Really the only thing interesting, in my opinion, on the show was Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley facing off in the opening segment. And not only that, Biggie versus Seth Rollins in a very good match, which saw Seth Rollins beat Biggie clean, which I thought was the right decision. But there's only one problem with it. It was unannounced. They announced it right on the fly, which I don't know why. I'm just not really a big fan of that. That's just me. But it's wrestling. What can you do? It works sometimes, but it sometimes doesn't work. And I felt like this case, I just didn't really, I didn't understand why they booked it like that. But yeah, I'm going to be discussing Raw. I was not really a big fan of this show, to be quite honest with you. Sometimes, it feels like I have to it feels like a chore sometimes to take notes on the show, because of the fact that, the show is just not really that interesting, in my opinion. Raw is not really as interesting, as it used to be years ago. But, we're going to be discussing Raw. Before I get on with my Raw review, make sure to like and subscribe to the Broken Havoc podcast on YouTube for more content. And also, we're going to get on with the Raw review right now. Brock Lesnar kicks off the show with Paul Heyman. And again, as I've stated in my previous Raw review, this whole situation with Roman Reigns and, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, we know for a fact that Paul Heyman is eventually going to turn on Brock Lesnar. It's just a common thing. And, this whole reunion with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman is only temporary. It's not a permanent thing. I wish it was a permanent thing, because I'm going to be honest, I'm a big fan of babyface Brock Lesnar, but we know it's going somewhere much more greater. And, this whole thing with Paul Heyman turning on Brock Lesnar is just a much better scenario, in my opinion. But yeah, Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar kick off the show. Bobby Lashley is in Gorilla, and Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander come in to congratulate him on winning the Fatal 4-Way last week. And Bobby Lashley states that there's no more Hurt Business and he's on his own. And basically he tells them to leave. And then once we're back in the ring, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman are in the ring. All right. First off, the Hurt Business. They should have never broken up the Hurt Business to begin with, in my opinion. I felt like, them breaking up the Hurt Business was a flat-out joke, because of the fact that, the Hurt Business was just something new and something fresh, in my opinion. And it really, to me, brought somewhat of interest to the WWE. We needed something like a faction like the Hurt Business to basically run rampant through the whole roster. But instead, we got just dumb stupidity. We got shit like Retribution, which went nowhere. They broke them up for no apparent reason whatsoever. Then they realized they messed up, and then they decided to put them back together. But then it was too late, because of the fact that, while they were back together, you had Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander at the same time chase for the 24/7 championship. So how am I supposed to take the Hurt Business, let alone Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, seriously, if they are running for they're chasing, I should say, for the 24/7 championship? First off, that championship is an absolute joke. The title is an absolute joke, and it should be completely abolished, because, again, it brings nothing of interest to the show, in my opinion. It's just my view on things. It brings absolutely nothing of interest to the show. So back in the ring, Paul Heyman gets the mic. He does his typical Paul Heyman introduction and then the whole Brock Lesnar introduction. So basically, Brock Lesnar states that he can't believe that they're back. And then Bobby Lashley and MVP come out. MVP gets the microphone and says it's an honor to present him with the almighty Bobby Lashley. Lashley then gets the mic and says it's an honor to stand in the ring with him, and it's an honor to share the spotlight with him. Says he, from one super athlete to another super athlete, it's an honor to tell him that for 20 years he has been ducking him. Okay, I'm going to be talking about this right here, about this whole thing, this whole 20 years thing. First off, 20 years, is that over-exaggerated? Because quite frankly, Brock Lesnar made his debut in 2002, and Bobby Lashley made his debut in 2005. So was that really 20 years? No, not really, in my opinion. It made no sense. Why are you bringing stuff that is not true? This is the thing. A lot of people were complaining when Randy Orton faced Brock Lesnar back at SummerSlam, saying, Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, they were friends in OVW and all that stuff. Maybe that's true, but that's like behind the scenes stuff. Stop trying to change history and stuff, if that makes any sense. I just feel like, with Bobby Lashley saying, he's been waiting 20 years for this, that is a flat out lie. That made absolutely no sense in my opinion. 20 years? First off, he made his debut in 2005. That's less than 20 years. And I don't know. That's just my opinion, but I don't know why he needed to add that. He's been waiting 20 years, or for the last 20 years he's been, ducking him. Maybe you could say at least for the last 10 years or something like that, instead of saying for the last 20 years. 10 would be more accurate, but 20, no. I'm sorry. All right. He says that doesn't fall with him and says it falls with Lashley. He did not. So then Lesnar states that he didn't know who he was until day one. Lashley says that at the Rumble, he will beat him and, will retain the WWE. Will win the WWE Championship. That's what Lashley states. And Lashley says that he's funny and he is. Lesnar says that he's funny and he's money. He tells Paul Heyman a knock-knock joke. Knock-knock. Who's there? Bobby. Bobby who? What happens? Lesnar was like, exactly. That was actually one of the funniest parts of the entire segment. Lesnar says it's impossible to beat Brock Lesnar, and it's even more impossible when you're Brock Lesnar wannabe. So basically, he verbally buried Bobby Lashley. Then they leave. Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander attack Lashley from behind. Lashley takes them both out. Lashley then picks up Shelton and throws him to the ring post. Then he sends Cedric to the barricade. Then he picks up Cedric and throws him to the ring post, and the opening segment ends. Okay, what are my thoughts on this opening segment? I thought this was a good opening segment, in my opinion. It was not bad whatsoever. I really enjoyed it. Brock Lesnar basically buried the hell out of Bobby Lashley. That's all I can say about that. But some nitpicks of, Bobby Lashley saying, for 20 years he has been ducking him. I'm like, for 20 years? No, that's a flat out lie. For 20 years. I don't know why WWE likes to over-exaggerate with things like that and like to change history a little bit, because at the end of the day, we all know WWE is known for changing history, and they just love doing that. But the fans see right through it. But this opening segment wasn't bad in my opinion. I just I'm really excited for Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar, because this is a match that we should have gotten years ago. Like, ever since Bobby Lashley returned back in 2018, that should have been like one of the first matches that Bobby Lashley should have been booked, for Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. Like, how it is so weird, and this is a common occurrence. Why do fans, when fans want a particular match, WWE does not listen to the audience whatsoever. And then 5 years later, they finally get the match that everybody wanted, but it's too little too late. You know what I'm saying? They do stuff like that all the time. And for example, a pure example of this is John Cena versus The Undertaker. That match should have happened way before than it did. It happened in 2018. That should have happened years prior to 2018, in my opinion. WWE just does shit so late. It's kind of embarrassing. You know what I'm saying? That's just my opinion. But as the saying goes, what Vince wants, Vince gets. Because at the end of the day, all the people in creative are not writing for an audience of many. They're writing for an audience of one. All right. We get Riddle backstage in Gorilla. Says, summon your inner Viper. And then he's trying to demand a higher plane of lightning. Randy says it's not his free time right now, and says they lost last week because he didn't tag in. Randy then writes in Riddle's hand, tag in Randy. Okay. So we got Randy or RK Bro, Randy Orton and Matt Riddle versus the Alpha Academy in a rematch from last week. Again, how many times do we have to see these guys feud, let alone have it be for the tag titles? I do not know why. I mean, again, it's the lazy booking that really, infuriates me with this show, and it makes me completely uninvested in this show. It's because you're seeing the same old matches over and over again. And to the point where it just gets, I'm gonna be honest, like, I just do not care whether RK Bro loses the tag titles or not. I mean, WWE will just do 50-50 booking, whatever they want. But, I mean, let's be honest right here, though. Like, the Alpha Academy winning the tag titles is, complete shocker to me. I actually thought RK Bro was actually gonna retain the tag titles. But to be quite honest, I was actually shocked when the Alpha Academy won the tag titles. But again, this whole rematch thing, WWE needs to stop with these constant rematches. If you're gonna do a rematch for a particular feud, do the rematch, for that specific feud or storyline purposes. To me, WWE doing these types of matches on Raw every single weekend, we've seen it throughout not only 2021, but we've seen it throughout like the past 10 years. How many rematches do we have to get over and over again? I can recall some Raws throughout 2021 where literally the entire card on the show was just flat out rematches. That is not good. That is just not good at all. But we get a waist lock by Riddle. We get a technical wrestling ability by Chad Gable. Both lock up again. We get a side headlock by Gable. Riddle then tries to apply an armbar. Gable then goes to the rope. We get a high kick by Riddle. Riddle then hits a senton. Gable is on the outside. We get a running kick on the apron. Then Riddle springboards, taking out Gable onto the outside. Once we're back from commercial break, Orton tags in. We get a power slam on Gable. We get a headbutt by Otis. Gable then takes Orton to the top rope. Gable then goes to the top, but Orton catches him. Orton also goes to the top. Orton hits a superplex off the top. Then Otis hits an elbow on the outside. Otis then slams Orton. We get a cover. 1, 2, 3. The Alpha Academy win the Raw Tag Team Championships. Again, a match that I just did not care about whatsoever because of the fact that it was a rematch, and we have been seeing these guys wrestle in some form or fashion throughout the past 4 or 5 weeks. I mean, come on now. I'm just tired of this whole feud happening on television. Just leave me alone with this shit. All right, we get a video package of Priest declaring himself as an entrant in the Royal Rumble. Then we get the first of 3 video packages. The first one being Bianca Belair, basically cutting a promo of wanting to win the triple threat so she can face Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship at the Royal Rumble. Next up, we get Damian Priest and the Street Profits versus Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode and Apollo Crews. Another match that I honestly did not care about whatsoever. It was just a random match just thrown together. Crews and Ford start. We get a drop kick by Ford. We get a cover and a 1 count. Dolph tags in, works on Ford. We get a right hand by Ford. Priest tags in. Dolph runs into the corner. We get a right hand by Priest. Then plants Ziggler to the mat. We get a spinning kick by Priest. He takes out both Roode and Ziggler. He tries to suplex Dolph, but Roode tries to interfere. We got a drop kick by Dawkins. Priest hits a lariat on Roode. Once we're back from commercial break, Crews is in control. He throws Ford to the mat. We get a cover and a near fall. Dolph then tags in. He works on Ford. We get a drop kick by Dolph. We get a cover and a near fall. We get a second cover and a near fall. We get a side headlock by Dolph. We get a super kick on Priest by Dolph. Dolph then gets caught and, he gets hit with the powerbomb. At this point, the hot tag is made. Dawkins then hits a diving back elbow. Then he takes out Crews, then Ziggler. Then he hits a running bulldog on Robert Roode. We get a spinning splash in the corner by Dawkins. Dawkins hits a side slam on Roode. Then we get a cover and a near fall when Crews interferes. Priest hits an enziguri. Priest and Commander Z's face off. Then Ford with a somersault on the outside. Again, Ford, well, I shouldn't say again. I didn't state that in this video yet, but as you guys know, I'm a huge fan of Montez Ford. Montez Ford is just a freaking freak. He's just insane at what he does, and honestly, this guy's going to be a WWE champion one day. Guaranteed that. Probably wait, in a couple years, the guy will be a star. Period. All right. We get a roll up by Rude on Dawkins. We get a zigzag made by Dolph, who is legal. We get a cover, and the heels win the match. Overall thoughts. Again, I did not care at all about this match. To me, I just wasn't as interested in this match, to be quite honest with you. Just the booking of it all, and just like honestly, it's just I'm not invested in this show. To me, this shit, like it's such a task to just watch 3 hours of Raw. I was originally gonna like skip this whole review, but you know what? I have a channel to run, so I was like, you know what? I gotta review this show. But to be quite honest with you, I'm not really that big of a fan of this booking. Here's one thing that was actually not bad on the show. Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins has been doing, the best work of his career so far. I mean, the guy, I can remember when he originally turned heel and they paired him with the Authors of Pain. I thought, really wasn't that special. And then, I don't know why, but like starting last year, his heel character started to grow on me more and more and more. And, his feud with Edge was amazing. Like Seth Rollins, when he was feuding with Edge, the promo segments that we have seen Seth Rollins have, like, bro, Seth Rollins has been cutting some of the best promos. And, I'm really enjoying his current character work. That's just me. But he says he's in a great mood in Philly and says the Royal Rumble is on the horizon. Why is he excited? Is it Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley? Is it because 30 men and 30 women will throw each other over the top rope and main event WrestleMania? He says he's excited because it's the night he will be the Universal Champion. Then he says it will be Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. Then, he states, how did he make this match possible? He took all of the matters into his own hands. Biggie then comes out, says that he is excited for him. Rollins is like, why is he excited for him? Biggie says that he's his favorite and he has entered his name into the Royal Rumble match. I remember this whole thing being, declaring yourself in the Royal Rumble match and at the same time having, qualifying matches for the Royal Rumble. It was such a debate last year. Like everybody's like not giving a shit anymore. But I remember last year, the beginning of 2021, everybody was like just debating and complaining about like, wait, why do we have qualifying matches? But meanwhile, we got other wrestlers just declaring themselves in the Royal Rumble match. It makes absolutely no sense. And then Adam Pearce had to go on Twitter and just like clarify everything. That was like the funniest shit ever. But this basically led to a match between Biggie and Seth Rollins. Because Biggie challenged Seth Rollins to a match. He did not want to wrestle, but of course, being a typical heel, he will accept the challenge and, just try to beat Biggie in any means necessary. All right. We get Seth Rollins versus Biggie in a match that, honestly, I just, a match that was booked out of nowhere, but I will say it was not a bad match at all. Seth Rollins is one of the best wrestlers in the world. Biggie, what can I say about Biggie? Like, Biggie's just amazing at what he does, period. So both lock up. We get a side headlock by Biggie. Then we get a drop kick by Rollins. We get a belly-to-belly suplex by Biggie. Then Biggie runs into a boot. Rollins takes Biggie to the outside. He hits a suicide dive after that. Then Rollins tries to go for the suicide dive again, but then Seth Rollins runs into a right by Biggie. Actually, I shouldn't call Seth Rollins. He's actually called Seth freaking Rollins because they legitimately changed his name to Seth freaking Rollins, which I think is a stupid decision. Seth freaking Rollins is just a catchphrase, which was actually really good. But then, they have to overdo it and literally rename him Seth freaking Rollins. It makes absolutely no sense. But we get a splash by Biggie on the apron. Once we're back from commercial break, Biggie and Rollins are fighting on the outside. Both are back in the ring. We get a kick by Rollins. Then we get a couple of chops by Rollins. We get a waist lock by Rollins. Biggie then throws him to the mat. He sends Rollins to the corner. Rollins hits a chop block. We get a DDT by Rollins. We get a jumping knee off the apron on Big E. He goes to the top. We get a diving knee on the top by Rollins. We get a cover and a near fall. We get a couple of crossface shots on Big E by Seth Rollins. Rollins applies a chin lock. Biggie tries to power out. Then we get a chop by Rollins. Biggie then hits the Uranagi after that. We get a couple of clotheslines by Biggie. We get a headbutt by Rollins. Biggie then takes Rollins to the apron. He proceeds to spear Rollins on the outside. Once we're back from break, Rollins then hits he has a chin lock applied again. Then Biggie goes for multiple belly-to-belly suplexes, that being 3 belly-to-belly suplexes. Then we get a splash by Biggie. He proceeds to pick up Rollins. Rollins escapes. Rollins then counters the Uranagi. We get a rolling elbow. Rollins tries to suplex Biggie after that. Rollins then hits an enziguri. We get a cover and a near fall. We get a super kick by Rollins. Another cover and a near fall. Then Rollins goes to the top. We get a frog splash off the top by Rollins. We get a cover and still a near fall after that. Biggie then hits the power bomb. We get a near fall. He tries to apply the knee bar. Rollins gets to the rope. Rollins then with a couple of elbows. Biggie then plants Rollins to the mat. We get a cover and a near fall. Biggie then runs into a knee. Rollins then goes to the top. Biggie with a couple of right hands. Biggie also goes to the top. Rollins fights back with a couple of elbows. Rollins misses. Then Rollins sets up the pedigree. Biggie escapes. Rollins then out of nowhere hits the curve stomp. Cover. 1, 2, 3. Seth Rollins beats Biggie clean in arguably the best match of the night, in my opinion. This was by far the best match of the night, to be quite honest. And this is on a show in which I was completely uninterested in, to be quite honest with you. I was completely uninvested in this show, but at least, we got the opening segment and this match. This match was not bad at all. And I thought having Seth Rollins beat Biggie clean in the center of the ring, basically it makes Seth Rollins look stronger. Yes, you have the problem of Biggie losing clean, which I understand the argument that it makes no sense, but really, let's be honest, WWE puts themselves into this predicament in which, they put themselves in these booking predicaments in which, you have to take one and just drop the other. And that's what happened right here. Seth Rollins goes over, which I thought was the right decision, but, having Biggie lose at the same time kind of devaluate, really doesn't elevate Biggie, to be quite honest with you. And that kind of sucks because Biggie is really, he's busted his ass to get the spot that he's at. But, at the same time, WWE is just booking him into just scenarios that just doesn't make him look strong. All right. We get a video package of the 30 women Royal Rumble match. Then we get a segment with Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH. This whole segment nobody cared about. The crowd in Philadelphia was dead, and Philadelphia is one of the most diehard wrestling crowds in the entire wrestling world, I should say. Philadelphia is legitimately like a ruthless ass crowd, but let's be straight up. Philadelphia just did not. They didn't chant anything. They just completely ignored everything that happened on this show, and this segment is no exception. To be quite honest with you, this whole segment with Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH is just completely uninteresting. To basically hash things out, I mean, Nikki ASH was basically questioning, Rhea Ripley's, basically, are you still my friend? All that stuff. Again, it kind of makes Nikki ASH looks like a babyface. They're trying to book Nikki ASH as a babyface, but let's be straight up. I mean, this whole sympathetic babyface thing regarding Nikki ASH was not working whatsoever. Then all of a sudden, Rhea Ripley's like, I'm sorry, but we're still friends, but we should go our separate ways, blah blah blah. Honestly, I'm basically summarizing what happened, but what happens in the end, Nikki ASH just turns on Rhea Ripley, and now Nikki is now a heel, in which hopefully she ditches that whole superhero costume, because to me it's just quite cringe. But yeah, Nikki ASH turns heel. Do I care? No. All right. Dana Brooke and Reggie backstage. They run into R-Truth and Tozawa. They both Dana Brooke and Reggie have sandwiches. Then they throw their sandwiches and miss. The sandwiches are thrown at Tamina. Then Tamina goes crazy in a cringeworthy way. Then Dana and Reggie run into Omos. Omos then picks up Reggie, but then just drops him. Then we get a segment with Doudrop. I don't know why she's in this match. Can someone explain to me why Doudrop is in this match? Why is she in the triple threat match? It makes absolutely no sense. Didn't she lose to Bianca Belair numerous times? So what is the point? What granted her the opportunity? It was that segment when she just came in to Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce's office last week. It was so cringeworthy. I just did not buy anything that she was saying. Yeah, but she says her opponent's biggest mistake was overlooking her. Says she will be Becky at the Royal Rumble, and says 2020 will be the year that she will finally be dropped. Okay. All right, Omos versus a random jobber. Basically, what happens, Omos compares the height. He throws him across the ring. We get a back elbow in the corner by Omos. He picks up the jobber and throws him to the mat. Then he plants him to the mat. We get a cover, and Omos wins the match. Omos right now is in the phase of a jobber squasher. Guarantee you they're going to put him in a high main event position, and if that happens, I am going to cringe because I think that's wrong because of the fact that Omos is extremely green. That's just me. We get the cutting edge with Beth Phoenix. This is the second day. This is the second week in a row that we have been getting the cutting edge, and we have this whole mixed tag team match with Edge, Beth Phoenix, Maurice, and The Miz. Introduces Beth Phoenix. He says that day one they did some damage, and says he needs to remind everyone how much ass she kicked when she was in the ring. So basically, Edge was putting over his wife Beth Phoenix. Then, altogether they collected 35 WWE championships together. Says they are the only couple in the WWE Hall of Fame. Then Edge proceeds to roll footage of Beth Phoenix. After that, Beth is happy about the video package. She says she's flattered that, she has flattery, will get him everywhere and all that stuff. She's out here to talk some business, and she's, honestly, this whole segment's just not interesting in my opinion. So then Miz comes out. What happens? Miz comes out and just totally contradicts himself in, of course, typical heel fashion. And then Maurice is there as well. Miz prepares a video package of Maurice, basically, just everybody just putting over Maurice in this video package. It's basically the same as Beth Phoenix. And what happens after that is, Miz is just like, my wife is going to kick Beth Phoenix ass, all that stuff. He's constantly bragging on all this shit. But what happens, not Beth Phoenix, Maurice just leaves as soon as while he is speaking, he turns around. Miz is like, oh crap, I fucked up. And then, what happens? Beth says if Maurice is afraid, then it would be her pleasure of knocking the Miz's teeth out. So, honestly, am I interested in this particular feud? No, not anymore, to be quite honest with you. At least it's happening at the Royal Rumble and not at WrestleMania. Originally, I was stating, this match should happen at WrestleMania. Change of plans because, to be quite honest with you, I am not as interested in this whole feud as a lot of other people are. I'm just not. Edge should be in a much better position. He should definitely face AJ Styles at WrestleMania. That is a match that I definitely want to see in the future. Austin Theory, we get a backstage interview with him. He says tonight he will beat AJ Styles and all that stuff. We get AJ Styles versus Austin Theory. We get a rolling shotgun drop kick by Theory, sending AJ to the outside. Once we're back from commercial break, Styles is in control. We get a boot in the corner by Styles. AJ, of course, with his phenomenal blitz. Then we get a neck breaker by Styles. Then we get a cover into near fall. Styles then sets up the Styles Clash. Austin fights back. We get a neck breaker, suplex combination by Theory. Then we get a cover into near fall. He proceeds to pick up Styles. Styles then hits a forearm. What happens? Grayson Waller just comes out of nowhere, attacks AJ, causes a DQ. AJ proceeds to fight back. Then after that, Grayson Waller is backstage and he says the Phenomenal One is getting taken over by the Grayson Waller effect. So honestly, I don't watch NXT 2.0 because I just have no desire to watch the show. But Grayson Waller, I am not invested in Grayson Waller. I will say this, I have been watching a little bit of NXT 2.0 just for Braun Breaker, and that's it. I'm actually a big fan of Braun Breaker. He's not bad, but Grayson Waller, to me, I'm not really getting it when it comes to Grayson Waller. I think Grayson Waller he's just there, in my opinion. To me, he's just there, and I really have just no, I really do not believe in anything that he is saying. That's just my opinion. At least AJ is there, to try to, put him over and stuff, but we get, Liv Morgan in a backstage segment talking about winning the triple threat match. Then we get a video package of Alexa Bliss. Yes, Alexa Bliss is back, but she's with the doctor, and, she has that whole supernatural shit going on. Says that she has a problem, and she asks the doctor to fix it. And then all of a sudden, Alexa remembers Charlotte destroying the doll back at Extreme Rules. Then Alexa, what happens? What does she do? She destroys the place. Okay, great. We still have this whole supernatural thing going on, man. This whole Lily thing is it completely died out. I was never interested in, the whole Lily thing. I thought it was a joke. Lily, come on, man. This is wrestling we're talking about. I understand wrestling can sometimes go over the top, but be honest with yourself. It's 2022. Why are we still seeing supernatural shit happening in wrestling? If you want supernatural shit to happen in wrestling, at least make it believable. Don't edit out a freaking doll's eyes. Like, don't put the camera close up, like, during a match. Like, don't have the camera go close up to the doll and have the doll just wink at the wrestler. It is so cringeworthy and annoying, bruh. Like, stop. And you wonder why nobody watches this show. All right, we got Liv Morgan versus Bianca Belair versus Doudrop. Winner faces Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship at the Royal Rumble. Overall thoughts on this match. I thought it was a good match. I just thought the outcome of the match was completely wrong. First off, this is my first complaint. Why is Doudrop in this match? It made absolutely no sense for Doudrop to be in this match at all. It made absolutely no sense. Why is she in this match? I'm asking you, the viewer, why is she in this match? Didn't she lose to Bianca Belair like multiple times? So why is she in this match? First off, it should be a one-on-one match between Liv Morgan and Bianca Belair. It shouldn't be, Doudrop being in the match. This is the problem with the WWE product. Wins and losses do not matter. With the reason why things are happening in AEW, the way things are happening is because of the way, they book their wins and losses. Wins and losses matter in AEW. In WWE, you just get constant rematches and just lazy booking. But let's go over the match. First off, Becky comes out. She says that she's getting ready for the triple threat match. She's in commentary. The match starts. Everybody brawls. Then we get a couple of headbutts by Doudrop. We get a suplex by Doudrop on Bianca Belair. Then Doudrop takes Bianca to the outside. Both proceed to brawl. Then Liv takes both over the top rope on the outside. Both Bianca and Liv are in the ring. Liv then hits a Hurricane Rana. Liv runs into the turnbuckle. We get repeated rights by Bianca. Then Doudrop comes in. We get a kick by Bianca. We get a side slam by Bianca. We get a crossbody by Doudrop on Bianca. Doudrop then hits a Michinoku driver on Bianca. Liv is on the top. Doudrop then counters the Hurricane Rana and plants Liv to Bianca Belair. We get a cover and a near fall. Doudrop at this point is working on Liv. We get a splash by Doudrop in the corner on Liv Morgan. Doudrop then misses a cannonball. Liv goes for repeated stomps on the back of Doudrop, but Doudrop then throws Liv on the outside, landing her face first onto the steel steps. Then after that, once we're back from commercial break, Doudrop then lands into the corner. Bianca's on the top. Liv comes in. She proceeds to hit a Hurricane Rana. We get a roll-up by Liv on Doudrop. We get a near fall when Liv gets sent to the bottom turnbuckle. Both Bianca and Morgan proceed to brawl. Then Liv Morgan then misses the enziguri. We get a roll-up by Bianca and a 1 count. Liv then applies a submission on Bianca. Bianca then lifts her up, but Liv counters, taking Bianca down. Then she proceeds to take out Doudrop, but then sends Bianca to the turnbuckle. Bianca's on the top. Liv is on the top. Then she tries to slam her off the top. Doudrop then comes in. She takes Liv and powerbombs her. We get a cover, but Bianca, who is left on the top, hits a 450 splash, which was actually a really good spot. We get a cover by Bianca on Doudrop, but we get a kick out. Then she proceeds to cover Liv, but then we get a kick out. Bianca then proceeds to fight Doudrop and Liv. We get a spine buster on Doudrop after that. Proceeds to take Liv and drops her on Doudrop. Hits a moonsault on Liv and Doudrop. Then hits the KOD on Liv Morgan, but Becky interferes. Of course, this is no disqualification since this is a triple threat match. What happens? Bianca then chases out Becky. Becky then sends Bianca to the announce table. Doudrop goes to the top, drops on Liv. We get a cover, and Doudrop wins the match, and she will face Becky Lynch at the Royal Rumble. Okay, having Doudrop win this match made absolutely no sense whatsoever. That's just my opinion. It's just really dumb for, Doudrop to win this match because, quite honestly, nobody cares about Doudrop. I'm sorry, I'm just telling the God's honest truth. Nobody cares about Doudrop whatsoever. It's just not... It just makes no sense. It makes no sense for, to have Doudrop face Becky Lynch at the Rumble. Usually when it comes to Royal Rumble cards every year, usually, the undercard is fantastic. And you know what? This year, it's no exception. I mean, you have Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley, and you have Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. But on the women's side, I mean, you have Becky Lynch versus Doudrop. Is that really an interesting match for a caliber an event like the Royal Rumble? The answer is no. The pure answer is absolutely a 100% no. Because, I mean, Doudrop, it would have been much better if you had, at least Bianca Belair versus, if you had Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch at the Royal Rumble, of course you're gonna have Becky go over, and then after that, you take Liv into the Women's Royal Rumble, and what happens? Liv wins the Royal Rumble. She will go on to WrestleMania, elevate her more, and actually have her cut promos on her own instead of over scripting her. And then what happens? Liv eventually wins the title at WrestleMania, and then she becomes a star. That type of stuff. But at the end of the day, WWE just don't give a damn about what the people want. They just care about what Vince McMahon wants, and that's that. But overall thoughts on this particular episode of Raw, I thought the show was absolutely atrocious. That's why, I'm not, to me, I'm not really as interested in like basically reviewing the show. You can just see me, like you could tell by my tone, like I'm just not invested in this show. But I do have a channel to run, and I do want Raw to get better. And there are some aspects of Raw that are actually good, but let's be straight up. I mean, like, this show sucks. Raw sucks, man. This show is garbage. It is not a good show whatsoever. There's like very few things that are actually good on the show, and that's that. But yeah, that was my Raw review from January, I think it was January. Yep, January 10th, 2021. The crowd in Philadelphia, let's be straight up. The crowd in Philadelphia was just not really as in tone for the show. But, let's be straight up. This show is just not good at all. The show wasn't good at all. Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, they were like, that was like the best. The opening segment was like the best segment of the show. And also Biggie versus Seth Rollins, and that's that. But yeah, that was my Raw review from January 10th, 2021. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and be on the lookout for more future reviews right here on the Broken Havoc Podcast. But this is Broken Havoc from the Broken Havoc Podcast, signing out.